Investing for beginners. It can feel like trying to figure out a really complicated puzzle, maybe.
But absolutely, there's just so much information out there. It's easy to feel, totally overwhelmed.
Yeah, like where do you even take that first step? It's a real hurdle for a lot of people.
It really is. And that's why having a clear plan, like a roadmap, is so, so valuable when you're starting out.
And that's exactly what we're digging into today. We're focusing on Dave Ramsey's 7 rules for beginner investing. Now, you might know his stuff really well, or maybe this is new to you, but his approach, it's very direct.
Yeah, no nonsense is a good way to put it.
Right. Step by step. And it seems to really connect with people who are just starting or, feeling a bit lost.
Definitely. His popularity, I think, comes from that focus on the basics, the foundations. He lays things out in a sequence that makes sense.
Exactly. Takes something complex and makes it feel more manageable. So, for this deep dive, we've gone straight to the source, Dave Ramsey's own guidance on investing for beginners. And our mission today is pretty simple.
Yeah.
We want to unpack these 7 rules, make them super clear, keep it engaging, and, give you the key takeaways fast without getting bogged down.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, let's jump right in. Rule number 1, get out of debt first.
Right. This is like ground zero in Ramsey's world. It's non-negotiable.
And he means all debt.
Well, almost all. Everything except your mortgage. So, yeah, we're talking credit cards, definitely, car loans, personal loans, student loans, all that stuff.
Okay. And the thinking behind that is pretty straightforward, isn't it? It's about not tripping over yourself.
Exactly. Think about it this way. Say you're making a decent return, maybe 10% on your investment. Sounds good, right?
Okay, great.
But if you're paying like 20% interest on a credit card at the same time,
Ouch. Yeah, you're going backwards.
precisely, you're losing ground. That high interest debt just wipes out any investment gains you might see. It's counterproductive.
It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. You just can't get ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So hitting that debt first, it builds a solid foundation.
It really does. It frees up your money, stops that drain. So when you do start investing, it can actually, grow your wealth.
Okay, makes perfect sense. So that foundation leads us to step 2, right?
Right. Build an emergency fund.
The safety net.
Mm.
Ramsey's big on this one. He wants you to have a fully funded emergency fund.
And he's pretty specific about how much, isn't he?
He is. The target is 3 to 6 months worth of your essential living expenses.
Essential living expenses. So not like vacation money or new gadget money.
Definitely not. This is strictly for the curveballs, the unexpected stuff.
Like losing your job suddenly, or a big medical bill pops up, or the car breaks down again.
Exactly those things. The fund acts like a financial shock absorber. So when, life happens, you've got cash ready.
Which means you don't have to raid your investments early. Or worse, go back into debt to cover it. Right. Which would totally undermine step 1. So, yeah, the emergency fund is all about protecting your long-term progress, keeping you on track.
Okay. Solid foundation, safety net in place. Now we get to step 3. Invest 15% of your income. This is where the investing actually starts.
Yes, finally. And that number, 15%, is key in his plan. That's 15% of your gross income, your pre-tax income.
15%. Why that specific number?
He sees it as a kind of sweet spot. It's a significant enough amount to really build wealth over the long haul, especially for retirement.
But not so much that it feels impossible for most people.
Exactly. It's meant to be a balance. You're making real progress towards your future goals, but hopefully without, totally crippling your current budget.
Okay. A meaningful but achievable target. Got it. All right. Step number 4 then is choosing the right investment accounts. This can feel a bit more technical.
It can seem that way, yeah. But again, Ramsey gives a very clear priority order. First up, your 401k.
Okay.
Especially, and this is crucial, if your employer offers a match. You contribute, they contribute.
That's the free money he talks about, right?
That's exactly it. Free money. It's an instant return on your investment. You absolutely want to contribute enough to get that full match. Don't leave it on the table.
Makes sense. Grab the free money first. So once you've done that, where does he suggest going next with that 15%?
His preferred next step is the Roth IRA.
Roth IRA. Why Roth?
The big advantage is tax-free growth and, importantly, tax-free withdrawals in retirement. That's huge.
So the money goes in after tax, but then it grows and comes out completely tax-free later on.
Exactly. For 2024, the limit if you're under 50 is $7,000 a year. So that's a really powerful tool for long-term tax advantage saving.
Okay, tax-free growth is definitely appealing. What about traditional IRAs or just putting more in the 401k?
Yeah, those are the other options. With a traditional IRA or 401k, you might get a tax deduction now in the year you contribute, so it lowers your current taxable income.
Okay.
But the flip side is that when you take the money out in retirement, it's taxed as ordinary income then.
Ah, so tax break now versus tax break later.
Pretty much. The choice between Roth and traditional often comes down to whether you think you're in a higher tax bracket now or if you expect to be in one when you retire.
Yeah, gotcha. So prioritize the 401k match, then fill up the Roth IRA if you can, and then maybe back to the 401k if you still haven't hit that 15% goal.
That's the general sequence he lays out.
Okay, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. Step 5. Invest in good growth stock mutual funds. What goes inside those accounts?
Right. So he's a big advocate for mutual funds, specifically ones that focus on growth stocks.
Mutual funds, not individual stocks.
Correct. He explicitly warns beginners against trying to pick individual stocks. Says it's too risky when you're starting out. Same goes for, cryptocurrency.
Okay, so avoid the temptation to chase that one hot stock or the latest crypto craze. Focus on diversification through mutual funds.
Exactly. Diversification and aiming for steady long-term growth. And he gives some criteria for picking these funds.
Yeah, like what?
Well, first, look for funds with a solid long-term track record. He suggests 10 years or more of strong performance.
Okay, past performance isn't a guarantee, but it gives you some idea.
Right. Second, keep fees low. He really emphasizes this. Look for expense ratios under 1%. Fees eat into your returns over time, so you want to minimize them.
Under 1%. Got it.
Anything else?
Yeah, third, he suggests looking for funds that have, historically at least, outperformed the S&P 500 index. Basically, funds managed with the goal of beating the average market return.
Okay, track record, low fees, aiming for above average performance. And he gets even more specific about the types of mutual funds, doesn't he?
He does. He recommends spreading your investment across 4 specific categories of mutual funds.
4 types. Which ones?
Growth, aggressive growth, international, and small cap.
Okay, growth, aggressive growth, international, small cap. Why those 4? What's the strategy there? It's all about diversification across different market segments and styles. Growth funds invest in companies expected to grow faster than average. Aggressive growth, well, that's even more focused on high growth potential, maybe newer or slightly more volatile companies.
Okay.
International gives you exposure outside your home country, which is important diversification. And small cap funds invest in smaller companies, which often have more room to grow, though potentially more risk too.
So spreading the money across these 4 is designed to capture growth from different areas while hopefully smoothing out some of the bumps.
That's the idea. Mitigate risk while still aiming for solid long-term growth. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, even within mutual funds.
Makes sense. Okay, step 6 feels really important too. Avoid these investing mistakes, knowing what not to do.
Oh, hugely important. Mistakes can be costly. Ramsey highlights a few common traps for beginners.
Like what?
First big one, trying to time the market. Guessing when it's low to buy or high to sell.
Yeah, sounds impossible.
Pretty much is, consistently anyway. He stresses just investing regularly, consistently, month after month, regardless of what the market's doing. Dollar cost averaging. It's a much more reliable strategy long term.
Okay, stay consistent. Don't try to be a market genius. What else?
We touched on this, but picking individual stocks, again, he sees it as too risky for beginners compared to diversified funds.
Right.
Also, watch out for high fee investments. Reiterating that point about expense ratios. High fees are a drag on your returns, especially over decades.
Fees compound too, just like returns, but in the wrong direction.
Exactly. And finally, he strongly warns against using leverage that means borrowing money to invest. It links right back to his core principle of avoiding debt. Investing with borrowed money magnifies both gains and losses. Too risky.
Okay, so consistency, avoid stock picking early on, keep fees low, and absolutely no borrowing to invest. Seems like solid advice for managing risk.
Very much so.
Which brings us to the final step, number 7. Keep investing for the long term.
Yes, this is where the real power comes in. Patience and time. Ramsey emphasizes that investing isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It's about the long game. Decades.
Thinking 20, 30 years or more, not just next year.
Exactly. He advocates a buy and hold strategy. You pick good, diversified funds and you stick with them through market ups and downs, Don't panic sell when things get volatile.
And he often points to historical market returns to show why this works, right?
He does. Historically, the stock market has averaged around 10–12% per year over long periods. Now, obviously, past performance doesn't guarantee future results, and some years are up, some are down.
Sure. Yeah.
But over decades, that potential for compound growth is really significant if you stay invested.
So it's about discipline, consistency, and letting time do the heavy lifting. Steady wealth building.
That's the core of his investment philosophy.
Okay, so let's circle back quickly. For a beginner starting out, following these steps, where exactly should they invest that 15%? Just to recap.
The main recommendation is those good growth stock mutual funds, and specifically spreading the money across those 4 types: growth, aggressive growth, international, and small cap.
Finding well-managed ones with low fees in each category.
Right. And using the right accounts for those investments.
Yeah.
Priority order again.
Okay.
First, 401k up to the full employer match. Get that free money.
Yep.
Second, contribute to a Roth IRA for that potential tax-free growth up to the annual limit if you can within your 15% goal. And third, if you still haven't hit your 15% total investment target after maxing the Roth IRA contribution, go back and put the rest into your 401k.
Got it. A clear pecking order to maximize the benefits.
Exactly.
And just to hammer it home, what does he say beginners should definitely avoid investing in?
Steer clear of picking individual stocks when you're starting. Avoid day trading that's very high risk. Stay away from cryptocurrency for now. And maybe hold off on real estate investing until you're much further along financially. Debt-free, with a solid emergency fund and retirement savings well underway.
Basically, stick to the diversified long-term plan first before considering higher risk ventures.
That's the message. Build the foundation first.
Okay, perfect. So let's just do a super quick summary of the 7 steps. 1, pay off all debt but the mortgage. 2, build that 3 to 6 month emergency fund. 3, invest 15% of your gross income. Prioritize 401k match, then Roth IRA, then back to 401k.
Right.
4, use a mix of those 4 mutual fund types. Growth, aggressive growth, international, small cap.
Got it.
5, focus on using those tax-advantaged accounts, the 401k, and Roth IRA primarily. 6, avoid the big mistakes, timing the market, individual stocks early on, high fees, leverage. And 7, stay invested for the long term. Think 20, 70-plus years. Ignore the daily noise.
That's it. That's the plan in a nutshell.
So when we step back and look at this whole approach, what are the big picture takeaways for someone new to investing?
Well, I think the overall philosophy is pretty clear. It's simple, it's disciplined, and it's quite conservative, actually.
Yeah, that focus on debt freedom first is huge.
It is. Getting debt-free and having that emergency fund cushion, that creates a really strong base before you even put $1 into the market. It reduces risk significantly.
And the focus is definitely on consistency and avoiding, flashy or overly risky stuff.
Right. It's a cautious path. Now, some critics might argue, maybe, that simple low-cost index funds are a better or easier core holding than actively managed mutual funds across 4 categories.
That's a fair point. There are other valid approaches out there.
Sure. But the strength of Ramsey's system, especially for beginners, is that it is a system. It's clear, it's actionable, it tells you exactly what to do step by step.
Which can be really powerful if you're feeling totally lost, right? It gives you a concrete plan to follow and build confidence.
Exactly. It cuts through the noise and says, okay, do this first, then this, then this. For someone overwhelmed, that structure can be invaluable just to get them started.
So, for you listening, maybe take a second to think about how this resonates. Does this structured, debt-averse, step-by-step approach feel like something that fits your personality and your current financial situation?
Yeah, and maybe think about which of these steps, if you were to implement just one right now, might make the biggest difference for you personally.
That's a great question. So, wrapping up this deep dive on Dave Ramsey's 7 rules, it's definitely clear he offers a very defined starting point.
A pathway for those feeling maybe a bit adrift in the world of investing advice.
It prioritizes that financial security first, building that solid ground before aiming for significant growth. It's risk-averse, maybe, but gives a lot of peace of mind.
It certainly can for beginners.
All right, so here's a final thought for you to chew on. Looking at those 7 steps, again, which one feels like the most important first move for you right now? And maybe what more might you want to learn about those specific mutual fund types? Growth, aggressive growth, international, small cap, to see if they really align with where you want to go financially.